The Lok Sabha elections are over and I'm back with another episode of Let Me Explain. But I'm not quite done with the elections. Because the exit polls have now become the biggest talking point. Most of the pollsters got the number in favor of BJP wrong by 80 to 100 seats. This in turn led to market fluctuations to the range of 30 lakh crore. That's almost $400 billion. Rahul Gandhi has asked for a joint parliamentary committee probe into what he called the biggest ever stock market scam.
और 4 जून जैसा आपने कहा, जिस दिन चुनाव का नतीजा आएगा, आप उस हफ्ते भर में देखना कि यानी भारत का स्टॉक मार्केट के लिए उसके सारे जो उनके प्रोग्रामिंग के जो प्रोग्रामिंग वाले सारे उनके थक जाएंगे.
This week, I look at why this time's exit polls are being called a scam and 10 reasons why exit polls are anyway problematic. Let me explain. The stronger and freer the media of a country, the stronger and freer a democracy is. Most of the mainstream media, most, not all, are into theatrics. But don't worry, we are there for you and we'll continue being here. A big thank you to those of you who supported us in doing this work. And I hope by now you're a subscriber. If you're not, what are you waiting for? Scan this QR code or click the link below and become a paid TNM subscriber right away. Now let's get back to exit polls. Most exit polls predicted a landslide victory for Modi's BJP in the Lok Sabha. Their numbers turned out to be wildly accurate. Here's what each of the major exit polls had predicted and what the actual numbers turned out to be. As you can see, the India Today Access My India poll gave 361 to 403 to the NDA, giving just 131 to 166 to the India Alliance. The Republic Matrix poll gave 353 to 368 to the NDA and 118 to 133 to the India Alliance. Then there's News 24's Today's Chanakya, which gave 400 plus or minus 15 seats to NDA. So you can see for yourself why I call them wildly inaccurate. Most of them were off by at least 60 seats. Exit polls have a history of being unreliable. In 2004, despite predictions favouring Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government, the Congress-led alliance won more seats and formed the government. In the 2021 West Bengal Assembly elections, exit polls like Access My India and Republic had predicted BJP would be in the lead. But the BJP ended up with just 77 seats, while Mamata Banerjee's TMC won a whopping 213 seats. In the 2020 Bihar Assembly elections, most of the exit polls had predicted a clear win for the Tejasvi Yadav-led Mahagathbandhan. But the BJP-JDU alliance won. Uttar Pradesh in 2017, Karnataka in 2023, Delhi in 2015, Chhattisgarh in 2023. I can give you 10 such examples. So here's the question. Why is Rahul Gandhi saying this time's wrong prediction is a scam? Well, the first thing is that it wasn't just one or two, but every single national poll that gave an overwhelming majority, not just to the NDA, but to BJP too. So the question is, how could all of them get it so wrong and all in favor of the same party? Then, the exit polls drove the benchmark equity index, that is the stock market, to an all-time high on June 3rd. But in the following days, the market crashed, erasing almost $400 billion in value. Congress says that the last time the stock market doubled was in 2014. That is when the BJP got a full majority. This was the first time in over 3 decades that a party got an absolute majority and the markets reacted. So the question here is, why is it that on May 31st, that's even before the results were announced, did the market react this way? So in anticipation of what the exit polls would predict, that is an overwhelming majority for the BJP, the market surged on May 31st. Congress is alleging that those who were in the know of what the findings will be bought shares. This amounts to insider trading. And when the actual results did not match the exit polls, as I've already explained to you, the markets crashed. This sharp fluctuation caused a total loss of 30 lakh crores. SEBI has details of who invested on May 31st and who sold their shares right after. Rahul Gandhi is demanding that a joint parliamentary committee be set up to probe and instruct SEBI to see if there was any foreign players involved and who the beneficiaries were. There's another factor here. Prime Minister-elect Modi, outgoing Home Minister Amit Shah, and outgoing Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman endorsed buying of shares before the 4th of June, that is before the results.
और 4 जून जैसा आपने कहा, जिस दिन चुनाव का नतीजा आएगा, आप उस हफ्ते भर में देखना कि यानी भारत का स्टॉक मार्केट के लिए उसके सारे जो उनके प्रोग्रामिंग के जो प्रोग्रामिंग वाले सारे उनके थक जाएंगे।
तो 6 जून के पहले आप बाय कर लेना, 4 जून के पहले वो सूट अप करेगा।
Now, is this based on just confidence that they'll come back to power? One might question that given the access that they had to state machinery, including intelligence, did they know something more concrete? Or were they just trying to influence the markets? Whichever is the case, it's not their job to give such suggestions. Now to the next part. Why exit polls are anyway problematic, scam or otherwise. First, let's look at what exactly exit polls are. They're surveys conducted right after voters exit the voting booths. Pollsters hope to anticipate the voting patterns through this. In India, exit polls started to matter a lot more in the late 80s when elections became harder to predict and politics got more regional. Veteran journalist Prannoy Roy was the one in India who kicked off both opinion polls and exit polls, and they really took off with the rise of electronic media. Now, the ECI does not allow for exit polls to be made public till after the last day of counting, after every single vote across the country has been cast. So, in that sense, they cannot obviously influence voting like pre-poll surveys and opinion polls can. But let me now tell you 10 reasons why exit polls are problematic and unreliable. The first is the very nature of the game. The structural challenges one faces while conducting polls in an enormous country like India. Second is the fact that the sample size taken hopes to represent a cross-section of Indian voters. But still, the sample size could be very less to predict the actual results. For example, C Voter, which is one of the more credible agencies, had a sample size of 4,30,000 voters. Most of the pollsters now don't even make the sample size public, so it's hard to rely on their data. Then there is the quality of the sample, and by that I mean who are the different categories of people the surveyors would have spoken to. This could very well determine what kind of voting pattern is showing up on your survey. I'll give you a quick example. Many polls this time had under-surveyed women and illiterate voters. Over 48.5% of the voters are women, and over 25% of the total voters are illiterate. Political observers believe that these two categories were likely to have voted for a non-BJP party. So if they are under-surveyed, then the findings are more likely to be tilting towards BJP. Then comes the issue of budgets. One pollster I spoke to said that it takes anywhere between 20 to 30 crores to conduct exit polls in India. If an agency ties up with news channels, a part of this is borne by the channel, but not completely. So many poll agencies, especially the smaller ones, work with curtailed budgets, which means smaller sample sizes. Then there is lack of transparency. Many agencies do not make details of their survey public, be it the sample size or the demographic breakup, or even their methodology. Just putting out the final findings in terms of seat share and vote share is not enough. While this is great for narrative setting, in reality, it's not scientific. The methodology employed by the polling agency is crucial to how accurate the results are. And again, here not everybody is open. MyAxis and CSDS, for example, disclose that they conduct only face-to-face interviews of the voters. In Karnataka, Edina too has disclosed this. Many other agencies heavily rely on phone surveys, with many of them even using IVRs, that's interactive voice response for surveys. Now, how many people will accurately and honestly reveal their voting preferences to a talking machine? Next is the issue of talking only to visible and vocal voters and not enough to the silent ones. It's been seen that those who vote against the BJP have misreported their preferences. This could be because the exit polls are conducted in public, not by visiting households, like pre-poll surveys or opinion surveys. And voters may not be comfortable admitting voting against BJP. Not the media and not some of the voters. Balveer Arora, a political scientist, called out pollsters for their herd mentality. He said that they feared downplaying the BJP. If most of the pollsters gave BJP a clear majority and one agency, for example, did not, they worried that they'll be singled out and that there could be backlash. It has to be highlighted here that there are serious allegations that the numbers were inflated in BJP's favor even after they reached the news channels. These channels too were worried about the repercussions of putting out numbers that don't show a landslide victory for Modi. There's also an issue of conflict of interest, one that's not at all disclosed. Many of these pollsters work with political parties or leaders in different capacities, as strategists, consultants, or for conducting opinion polls. And all of this could very well sway which way the surveys go. Irrespective of whether it turns out to be a scam or not, the time's right to ask questions on what purpose the exit polls really serve. The voting is over, so there can be no shaping of opinion. And in less than 2 to 3 days, the actual results will be out. So other than bolstering TRPs for a few news channels, and this time inflating the markets, do exit polls serve any public interest? Second question, why are news channels expending money, time, and resources in figuring out who's winning, that too prematurely? Is this really a journalistic exercise? And is this our job? These are questions you may want to think about. Thank you for joining me, and also a big thank you from all of us for staying with us throughout our coverage of elections and of course on results day. Do continue being with us, because irrespective of who forms the government, we will continue bringing you fearless and objective journalism. Meanwhile, as I keep reminding you, support us, support our journalism. And if you like what I do, if you like my Let Me Explain, then scan this QR code, become a Pay TNM subscriber. If you already are, then encourage other people, also your friends, your family, people in your WhatsApp groups also to become one.